Okay, good evening. Welcome to tonight's shir. So the halacha shir this evening is entitled Exercise on Shabbos. Exercise on Shabbos. Now, how did this come up? A fellow asked me a few weeks ago this question: can he go for a run on Shabbos? Now, your initial thoughts are to put on shorts and t-shirts and to go for a run on Shabbos doesn't seem so Shabbostic. But what actually are the Isurim involved? Are there any Isurim? Is there a problem to go for a run or to do exercise on Shabbos? So it piqued my interest, so I'll share my findings with you. So the starting point is a Mishnah in Shabbos, which appears in Shabbos Daf Kuf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says, Sachin umamashmashin avalo misamlin v'lo miskarin. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Sachin umamashmashin, Sachin b'Shabbos, which means you can apply oil on Shabbos. Umamashmashin, you can sort of massage the body biyad al kol haguf lahana. You can apply the oil onto the body on Shabbos, no problem. Aval lo misamlin v'lo miskarin. Says Rashi, what does that mean? Lo misamlin l'shafshef b'koyach. Rashi seems to understand misamlin means some sort of heavy massage. Dahavi uvda dechol. That's a problem of uvda dechol. The Rambam, however, learns differently. So does Rabbi Hananel. The Rambam, if you look at the next box in Hilchos Shabbos Perek Chaf Aleph, says ein misamlin b'Shabbos. Eizo misamlin. What does that mean? Zeh shedarsim al gufay b'koyach. You're sort of treading at sheyagia v'yazea. You're sweating. It somehow brings up a sweat. Or sheyahalech at sheyagia v'yazea. You're walking or doing exercise where it creates a sweat. She'osel liyagea es atzmai. You're not allowed to exert yourself, says Rambam, in the interpretation of that Mishnah, because doing this on Shabbos is a problem of refuah. So it seems that the two different interpretations of this Mishnah, the Rashi learns that is referring to some sort of forceful massage and it's a problem of uvda dechol. That's the issue. The Rambam says it's an issue of exercise. An exercise and exertion on Shabbos, which causes sweating, is caught by refuah. Chazal made a general umbrella issa of refuah on Shabbos. Again, it's midrabanon. The issa is shchikas hamamonim, but it's a broad area of refuah, of medical therapeutic intervention on Shabbos. And exercise, says the Rambam, is caught by that. Now, the question, of course, is, who do we paskin like? Because if we paskin like Rashi, that the whole problem is sort of a heavy massage, and that's an uvda dechol problem, then going for a run on Shabbos would be okay. If we pass like the Rambam, then the issue is exactly that: exercise in order to create a sweat and to, for health purposes, and it's caught by refuah on Shabbos. So what does the halacha say? So the Shulchan Aruch, interestingly enough, there seems to be a contradiction, because, and this is box number 2. And if you're listening online, please email me at j.golker@gmail.com. I'll send you the handout. Sachin umamashmashin. This is in Shin Chaf Zayin. In Shin Chaf Zayin, Sif Beis, the Shulchan Aruch says, Sachin umamashmashin lahanoise aladei shinui, dahainu shesach umamashmesh biyachad, v'lo yimashmesh b'koyach ele b'rifin yadayim. You're allowed to sort of massage the body on Shabbos, but not heavily. That seems to be like Rashi. But yet, in Siman Shin Chaf Ches, in Sif Membeis, the Shulchan Aruch says, Ein misamlin, you exert the body in order to create a sweat. So the Rambam seems to pass on like both. So how do you explain that? So there are different approaches in the Achronim. 2 approaches that I've seen. One is the Machatzis HaShekel. The Machatzis HaShekel basically says that Shin Chaf Zayin is going like Rashi, Shin Chaf Ches is going like the Rambam, and Svir Lei Laharav, and this is the last line there of the bit I've got in the box, Svir Lei Laharav, Beis Yosef, the Ledina Shnehem Emes. That they're actually, he paskins like both, like Rashi and the Rambam. For Rashi Moide the Rambam. Rashi is not disputing the Rambam. He's saying that in addition to exerting yourself through exercise and creating a sweat, which is caught by refuah, there's a separate issue of uvda dechol, of a heavy massage. But the Machatzis HaShekel understands that the Shulchan Aruch is choshesh for both reasons. The Bir Halacha, which is of course authored by the Mishnah Berurah, by the Chofetz Chaim, he in Siman Shin Chaf Ches in Membeis, he says that in truth we paskin like the Rambam. If you look at the last line and a half, it says Uladina Kosafai Rabbi Yesh Lifsek Bezek Rambam. We should paskin like the Rambam. Shekain Hiskim Harav Hamagid Mishnah ve'emes But Pirush Rabbeinu Chanana shefanenu gam kein nimtzu karambam. So in short, there are two ways to resolve this contradiction. The Machatz Hashecha said she should be machmir for Rashi and the Rambam, and the Bihalacha, the Chavetz Chaim, says that he paskins like the Rambam. That's the Ikka Pirush, and therefore exercise is also, but a gentle massage would certainly be okay. Now, therefore, to do exercise on Shabbos, it would seem that it's across the board also. Whether you go like the Rambam, whether you go like Rashi, both of them, the Achronim explain that the Shulchan Aruch is either going like both or like going like the Rambam, and therefore exercise is going to be a problem on Shabbos. However, it's not so clear cut. If you turn over the page, in paragraph 3, the Shulchan Aruch says in a different place, in Siman Shin Aleph, Ein loretz b'Shabbos. You shouldn't run on Shabbos. The Gemara says that your walk on Shabbos should be different to that of the weekday, and a person should walk in a more gentle, sort of relaxed way. And then separately, the Shulchan Aruch says, Ein loretz b'Shabbos. You shouldn't run on Shabbos. Elim kein hu ledvar mitzvah, unless you're going for a mitzvah. So if you're running to shul, that's okay. But otherwise, you shouldn't run. And then in the next sif, he says, Bachurim hamisangim b'kfitzasam, kids who like to jump around. Or I don't know how you translate bachurim. Yeah, yeshiva bachur is not a kid. But be that it may, I mean, Rabbi Golker told me that, I was discussing this in a minute with him, I'll tell you why. But he told me that when he was in yeshiva, one of the bachurim there would go to, he just happened to be walking in Gateshead, and he saw this, this big wheelie bin. And one of the bachurim, as bachurim do, he just sort of sprung over the wheelie bin, used it as a thing, and just jumped over it. It's quite high, they're quite big. And Rabbi Falk, the great Pesach, was walking past just at that moment. And as he saw it, he says, oh, bachurim hamisangim b'kfitzasam u'merusasam. Kids like on Shabbos, they enjoy running and jumping. Mutter, that's allowed. If a kid gets his enjoyment on Shabbos by jumping and running, now, I think it was tongue-in-cheek that he was replying to Yeshiva Bacha, but that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. And then the Ramah adds, I think it's the Ramah, v'chein mutter l'tayel, actually no, it's the Beis Yosef. The v'chein mutter l'tayel, you're allowed to take a walk on Shabbos, that's not a problem. Now, on that halacha, the Mishnah Berurah says, this is box number 4, v'chein mutter l'tayel, afilu im kavanosa l'his'amah v'lischameh mishum refuah, mikol makom shari. If a person wants to take a long and fast walk on Shabbos, that's not a problem. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a school Shabbaton in the girls' school. So my wife and I, late Shabbos afternoon, we walked to the girls' school. We had to go quite quickly. We walked quite quickly. We were there for not long. I spoke and whatever, Shal Shudas. For the girls, Shal Shudas, I'm not going to hang around. They want to sing, so I can't be there. So I leave fairly quickly, and then we walk back. But it's a good 45 minutes each way. So that's perfectly allowed, even though in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe health reasons, it's a good thing to fast walk and all the rest of it. Mikol makom shari, that's allowed. Why? It's not evident that I'm doing this for medical purposes. Says the Mishnah Berurah, but it's also to run for health reasons, because that's clearly you're doing that for, if I get my shorts and t-shirts on and I go for a run, I'm clearly doing that for medical reasons. But also mishum shchika samonim, and it comes under the general category of refuah, which I said before is a problem of shchika samonim, you're grinding things, etc. V'yesh machmir afilu b'tziulim kavnos lis'amal refuah, and others are machmir if you're doing it for the sole purpose of, for walking fast, if you're doing it for the sole purpose of. So the Mishnah Berurah makes that distinction. Now, the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa, which is the classic sefer on Hilchos Shabbos, authored of course by Rabbi Neuwirth, and the halachic posik behind it really, is Rav Shlomo Zalman. Rabbi Neuwirth was one of the great poskim of recent times. He died not that long ago, and almost every other footnote is Rav Shlomo Zalman told me this, Rav Shlomo Zalman told me that. And the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa says in Perek Tezayin Ois Mem, Mesach Ritza, running games, Kvitza, jumping, Tefeses, Mechaprim, or hide and seek, all these sort of things, catch, Mutarim, they're all allowed on Shabbos, no problem. V'chein Mutza Likvoitz B'chevel, I mean that's like skipping rope or something like that. Avelis Amel, but exercise, Osa. Okay, so it all seems pretty clear that it's not allowed. Why do I say not so clear? Because look at the footnote. In the footnote, which is footnote Kuvov, he says at the end, i.e. if a person enjoys the exercise, says Rav Shlomo Zalman, says Rav Neuwirth, that if a person enjoys the exercise, then maybe Yeshloma, you can say it's allowed. And that is a bit of a grey area. Because if you ask 10 runners on the street, why are you running? What do you think they'll say? Some of them will say, it's healthy. Once they say it's healthy, then you've got a problem, you can't do it on Shabbos. If the person says, there's nothing like it, I enjoy a good run, then maybe that's okay. So that's why there's a bit of a grey area. Of course, in the terms of ideally how to spend Shabbos, this is not the ideal, right? But in terms of strict halacha, if a person genuinely enjoys it, then that would be okay. Now, the grey area seems to be that I would imagine most people, it's a combination. Most people do it for health benefits. And they also, some days they enjoy it, some days they don't enjoy it. Sometimes they force themselves to do it. When it's raining, they don't enjoy it so much. When it's sunny, they do enjoy it. I'm not clear. But either way, to summarize, what have we said? In terms of exercise on Shabbos, the Mishnah in Shabbos tells us, Lo mis'amlim, lo misgarin. The Machlokes Rashi and the Rambam had to understand it. Rashi says it refers to a forceful massage, and that's a problem with the Dechol. The Rambam says it's exercise and exertion which causes sweating. The Shulchan Aruch seems to paskin like both. The Machatzis HaShekel says that indeed we should be machmir for both. However, the Bir Halacha says that the paskins like the Rambam, and exercise is also, but gentle massage will be okay. And in terms of running and things like that, for children, that would certainly be allowed. How you define children and bachrim, I'm not entirely sure. And then the Mishnah Berurah says the distinction between running and walking. Running is okay. Walking is okay, even if it's fast walking, even if that's your intention is for exercise, to go for a fast walk, but it's not evident that you're doing this l'shem refuah. Mash'en kein running would be also. However, the Shmir Shabbos brings in this sort of slight grey area that going for a run, he says, generally all these things, ritza, kvitza, etc., is okay, but lis amel is also, exercise is also, so to go to the gym and to do these sort of exercises would be also. However, if a person enjoys it, then he says in the name of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach that it's allowed. How do you define exactly enjoyment and health benefits? Is it going to be solely for enjoyment? That seems to be the case. It's hard to know exactly where to draw the line. Okay. In terms of the other, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, maybe we'll leave that for another time. That's a slightly different area. It's related, but maybe we'll leave that for another time. Okay.